A Bloomberg best on Microsoft is with us now. Oppenheimer analyst Brad Reback, he's with us from Atlanta with his outlook for the company and particularly its mobile strategy. Brad, thanks so much for joining us. How much time does Microsoft have to convince Wall Street, to convince prospective investors that it's got what it needs as far as this mobile capability goes?
Good morning, Deirdre. Thanks for having me. I think the company has about a year to prove out that they're gaining some market share here and picking up some of the pieces from the mistakes they've had with the Windows Phone platform in the past.
You mentioned mistakes. We know that Microsoft put out a few months ago sort of a mini phone, for lack of a better term, mostly for kids who just wanted to text each other, and they pulled that off the market without too much announcement. What do you make of that?
Yeah, the Kin phone, for all intents and purposes, was dead on arrival. While it was a unique idea, like you said, a mini phone just focused on the tween market, the problem was the data plan was way expensive. Verizon and Microsoft were never on the same page, and I think that's led to some of the problems those companies are having going forward.
So, Brad, you mentioned Verizon. I want to ask what you make of the fact that Microsoft is partnering with AT&T now for this new phone. But if they're going to win people over from the Apple iPhone, what about all the people that are fed up with the iPhone just simply because of its connection to AT&T?
Yeah, and that's a great point. Microsoft's going to have to make a significant investment, number one, in proving to people that this is a platform and a very strong platform that has a lot of developers behind it. And then number two, throwing a lot of money at it from a marketing standpoint to convince people that it's not a phone problem, but it's not a network problem, but a phone problem.
How can you make any comparison to any other inroads that Microsoft has had to try to make? I mean, we sort of know the macro story that this has become a blue chip, but not necessarily a growth company anymore, that it lacks innovation, it's stayed. I mean, they have Bing, which was meant to take on Google. Is there any kind of analogy to be made here?
Yeah, I think the analogy with Bing is a very good one. This is a place where they've spent a lot of money and have gained some market share. They've actually innovated and done some things very uniquely with Bing that Google's had to follow. And they've gained small amounts of market share month after month. And I think that's the model here. As we look at the phone going forward, I think we'll measure this in tenths and single percentage points month by month and see where they wind up about a year from now.
Brad, what's a win for this mobile phone product? I mean, what do they need? What does Microsoft need to see as far as market share goes, as far as sales goes, for you to think that the company's done a good job?
Yeah, I think the goals are fairly modest here, and I think if they can get to 20 to 30% market share, maybe 2 to 3 years down the road, have a lot of developers on the platform, and are able to tie back into a lot of the other things Microsoft does well, like Outlook and Xbox, then we could say they have a wing. Do
you think that Microsoft really wants to launch this product, or do you think they've felt backed into a corner and obligated to do so?
No, I think they want to launch this product. As you guys said earlier, they've been at the phone business for the last decade. Unfortunately, there are lots of fits and starts within the phone unit. Like you said, the Kin earlier, Windows Mobile 6.5, they just didn't measure up. I think they've put a lot of time and effort into this and have some unique offering as it relates to the phone and a real opportunity to gain some market share back.
I'm looking at the year-to-date change for the stock. I mean, it's had a pretty rough year. It's down more than 19%. Is this phone going to change anything from an investor's point of view, make the company seem maybe a little bit back like it used to be a growth company?
Yeah, I think on the margin this helps a little bit to show that they're not completely out of the game as it relates to mobile, or what we broadly call the post-PC centric world. The next thing that they'll have to do is demonstrate that they can bring a tablet to market. Steve Ballmer's talked about having one in the marketplace by the end of this year. However, if they do, we don't think it's going to be much of an offering, and it's going to take probably the better part of another year or two until they have a real competitor to the Apple iPad out there.
Brad, thanks very much.